Now get this, honky. You go tell Raphael I ain't taking no jive from no Western Union messenger. You tell that asshole if he got something to tell me to get his ass down here himself.
Welcome to the Unrealistic Elephant Podcast. A movie is good when it has bloopers.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, like, movies are great when they have bloopers, man.
Yeah, actually, Peter Sellers, I guess we're jumping ahead and talking about the bloopers first, but Peter Sellers had an issue with that being in there because he said that it took away from the mystery of chance at the end, and he said that that was the reason he didn't win his Academy Award.
Oh, really?
It's because they put the blooper in there. But, I mean, I don't really care about Academy Awards, so I don't give a shit if...
Yeah, exactly.
But, like, in terms of, like, it taking the mystery away from chance, I didn't really find that was the case. But...
No, honestly, there's... We'll get into it, but the last scene is so poignant and great that it really cuts it off. It really just feels like a bonus at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And, anyway, I guess welcome to the Unrealistic Elephant Podcast. We're already getting into it because I'm really excited to talk about this movie.
Yeah, me too.
This is... just right off the bat, before we even get started, one of my favorite movies we watched on this podcast so far.
Awesome.
Of all time.
Yeah.
I was saying it's right up there with Harakiri. I'm not even joking.
Nice.
I was incredibly impressed. Anyway, so we're just gonna jump right into it.
Well, actually, first I do want to say we did have like a guest that was going to be on this episode, but he couldn't make it, so it's going to be me and Nathan today, but we'll get Aled on for a different episode.
Yes, of course. Of course we'll get Aled on. It sucks that we weren't able to get him. Life throws things at you, but,
I'm surprised, we've done so many guest appearances. I'm surprised it took us 20 episodes for someone to cancel on us.
I know. Fucking Stand didn't cancel on us.
Media Mementos didn't.
Come on, Aled. You're listening to this. I know you are.
No, we hope you're doing all right, Aled.
Yeah. Aled, please come on the show again. We would love to have you on. But for the time being, we're going to talk about this great movie.
Yeah, so being there. So I guess I should probably talk about how did I hear about this movie? This was a movie, I had seen Peter Sellers in The Pink Panther and in Doctor Strangelove and in The Party, so I'd always be familiar with him. And then I think maybe my dad recommended Being There to me.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, because he's saying that was one of the best Peter Sellers movies. And it's directed by Hal Ashby. Hal Ashby directed Harold and Maude, which is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I think we should talk about that at some point. What was interesting, too, is that this movie is written by Jerzy Kosinski, I think that's his name. And that was one of the few cases where this is based off of a book, and the author of the book also wrote the screenplay for the movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we've watched the movie that had that same situation where the author...
Trying to think, what, on the podcast?
Yeah. Was it Serena Noir? I can't remember. We must have watched a movie before where the...
I don't know. I can think of Maximum Overdrive and Perks of Being a Wallflower. Those are movies, but I don't know for the podcast. Maybe we did. I don't remember. But yeah. So Being There, I knew that it was about Peter Sellers, I knew that it starred Peter Sellers, and I didn't really know anything else going into it. And when I watched it, I was kind of this really reminds me of Forrest Gump.
Yes.
The way that it was kind of, playing into, this guy who's kind of, a sheltered, some would call him dim, person who's doing these things, and it's being seen as these incredible feats. So, yeah, it reminded me of Forrest Gump. I would say personally that I like this more than Forrest Gump. I don't know.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, I had no shade to throw against Forrest Gump. I'm just saying that I thought this was done earlier and better in Being There and the type of concepts. And so it was a movie that I thought was really funny. Yeah. And I thought it was, it really had me going for a while in terms of kind of the way the plot was folding, and I really liked the characters and everything. And then the last 30 seconds of the movie completely recontextualize everything that you've seen before it.
Yes.
And I was honestly in shock, like, when I saw it. This was, like, it was like literally watching a magic trick unfold in front of your eyes.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was like.
And, like, a magic trick I did not see coming in the slightest. And that it... we'll talk a lot about the ending because it is one of the most discussed endings, I think, in film history. And I think for good reason. But, yeah, I guess overall, before we get into that, what was just your... from the moment I saw it, I loved it, and I still love it to this day. So what about you? I know that you kind of opened the bottle a little bit before, but...
Yes, yeah, I just couldn't help myself. Yeah. This blew me away. Yeah. I really, again, I'm not as familiar with Peter Sellers' filmography, not even his most famous things.
Well, I mean, other than Doctor Strangelove and The Party.
And The Party, yeah, exactly.
You should check out Pink Panther, they're worth it.
Exactly, yeah, that's definitely on my list. But I guess I was like, okay, so this guy's funny. Yeah. This guy's really funny. He's got a great sense of humor, which, like, I guess just... I expected a funny movie, and I got a funny movie. Yeah. But through this movie, there's so much more than, like, the jokes themselves. Yeah. There's so much layered here. There's layers of drama, of human experience, of like, symbolism and stuff. It's like, I've never seen, I guess it's not a comedy. This is more like a comedy drama, because a lot of dramatic things are still happening, but it's still very comedic, just in... the general idea of what's happening. I wasn't ready. I honestly, I thought I was, I went to do it blind, and I was like, I'm sure this is going to be a good movie. I was not ready for how impressed I actually was. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a thing where, Lolita's another really great Peter Sellers movie. That's another Kubrick one too.
Oh,
so yeah,
I think I've seen that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, I didn't even know that was him. Okay, well, there we go.
That's it. Well, I mean, he does disappear into the characters a lot. I mean, if you watch Doctor Strangelove, he's pretty much unrecognizable as the president.
He's unrecognizable as
Doctor Strangelove too. But
he's then unrecognizable in The Party too.
That's true.
But why don't you go down and just sort of break down the plot of the movie, just for people who haven't seen it. Although as I always say, I really recommend you watch the movie before listening, just because I like the book club feel of it. But anyway, Also, we spoil everything, so this is a movie you do not want to be spoiled for. Yes,
I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. If you are listening to this episode and you're like, oh, I was thinking about watching Being There. I'll watch this first. Do not. We're gonna spoil everything.
Yeah.
And I watched this movie blind, and I was not ready for what I experienced. So please do yourself a favor.
Yeah, and this is kind of a Trojan horse movie, I would say, where it's presenting one thing to you, and then it's not exactly like. At the same time, it doesn't feel deceptive in the sense that it doesn't feel like what you saw throughout the movie was totally fake or anything like that. There's definitely nuggets of truth within there.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that we didn't get to see the full picture of what it was really saying until the end. And so, the plot of this movie is basically, it's about a gardener named Chance who has been supposedly working in this giant mansion for his entire life. Never really left the premises, never went into a car, never really did anything. He was raised on watching television and gardening, and those are the only two things he really knows in life.
Which is really interesting. I love a slow character. Yeah. I love a slow protagonist who doesn't quite understand everything. It's one thing to have like a fish out of water, like someone who is presented with a strange scenario, and then they have to sort of cope with it. Yeah. But not that, with this, the whole world is that strange scenario.
Yeah, exactly. This is a fish out of water, but I mean, yeah, it's just there's more to it than that.
It's a fish in space at this point.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. So with Chance, so the person who owns the mansion, who we never hear the name of, they just refer to him as the old man, he passes away, and the lawyers come to foreclose the house, and Chance is still there because he has nowhere to go. He's not listed on any of their employment records. They don't really have any sort of record of him ever being there. Pardon the pun, but
which goes to show like how little these people thought of Chance. Which, like, fair. He's very slow. He's definitely got some sort of...
Yeah, well, at least Louise, the maid, definitely thought little of him, as we see in the movie. But
absolutely.
We never really see what Chance's relationship was like with the old man. So we don't know if the old man really thought highly of him, or if he had like this sort of different perception of him that we don't see until the end, or if he knew any of that. So, like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so with being there... So... After the lawyers come and they tell him that he needs to leave the premise, he starts walking around Washington, D.C., which is where this is set.
With funky 2001 Space Odyssey music playing in the background.
I absolutely love the soundtrack for this, by the way. I looked it up. I want to get the name of the composer, because I definitely took the note of it.
You got it.
Johnny Mandel. He composed the movie, and he has a background doing like classical and jazz music, and you can tell.
Yeah.
And like this movie, the score of it is really well done, and it really fits the tone of whichever scene it's doing, because it can be really fun, and it can be kind of like foreboding and mysterious at other times, especially at the end. There's a lot of really great compositions in this. So, anyway, Chance goes around the town. He starts talking to all these different people looking for work, and then by what you could interpret as happenstance, he accidentally knocks himself into, or he gets hit by a car with other rich people who are big political figures in Washington, and they know the president. And they take Chance in because they feel bad that they hit him, and also because they're worried about any sort of legal action that he might take against them. And they start to see what Chance is saying as metaphorical. Even though Chance is basically just talking about gardening to them, they see it as like these big elaborate political strategies that are like being used, and they kind of apply them for speeches, and they get Chance a huge recognition under the name Chauncey Gardiner, which is a hilarious misunderstanding.
Yes.
Where he says Chance the Gardener, and they hear it as Chauncey Gardiner, and that's what they think his name is. And so, I think that's basically the premise of the movie without going into, like, spoilers. Well, I mean, maybe I went into spoilers a little bit. But
a little bit, yeah. But, that's the general premise of the movie, is just, Chance just going into these different situations and sort of navigating them the only way he knows how. Which is, like, he has so few modes in this movie, and he's very pleasant all the time.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is he's sort of dumb, but he is also, like anyone that he speaks with, they speak very highly of him. Yeah. He's so kind. He's such a well-known man, and it's just all he's doing is just trying to say the things that please the people that he's with right now. It's not really anything he's thinking about. He just wants, like, you see him go from scene to scene, and he's looking for things that he wants. Gardens, TV. Yeah. If there's a TV anywhere, he's watching the TV.
I like to watch.
Yeah. He likes to watch.
So many great lines, or great scenarios that come from that line, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's so funny to watch a character like this, because, like, the again, you said Forrest Gump, and there's a lot of movies like this. You talk about, like, off the top of my head, like, Forrest Gump, Radio. There's
I haven't seen Radio, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's with the Cuba Gooding Jr. That's who it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like a football movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. Where he plays like an intellectually disabled person, and but yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can go with this, even to a degree of like you think about like Idiocracy, the concept of being
a little bit
being an idiot, or being stupid, or intelligence being integral to the plot. It's sort of reversed in Idiocracy.
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways you can take it. You can go, again, that movie Radio is a serious drama about this intellectually disabled person who gets a chance at football and all this stuff. Forrest Gump is like a heartwarming Spielbergian
well, it was more Zemeckis.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
It was very Zemeckis-ish, but
yeah, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And Idiocracy is a straight up satire, like a very heavy-handed satire of like American intelligence rates.
Yeah.
This sort of does all of them in sort of like a different way. It's you really feel for Chance. Like, there's never a situation where you're like, this guy's so stupid, I wish he'd shut up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's really easy, is to write a dumb character. A lot of people hate Forrest Gump because they think Forrest is, like, the accent and the character that Forrest is playing is just too dumb to be believable, I guess.
Yeah.
But Chance is never like that. Chance... It is, you have to suspend your disbelief to think like, oh, this guy only knows TV and gardening. Yeah. Like, he's never seen a doctor, he's never done anything, like, he's never looked at the window or inferred something. Yeah.
Never ridden an automobile.
Exactly. Never ridden a car. It's like, that
road.
That seems ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it really, it plays it very straight. It's not like, look how ridiculous this is. It's more trying to show, again, with the 2001 funk opera section, where it goes on for a really long time. It's a great sequence.
Yeah.
Where he's just wandering the streets, running into people, having conversations with people. Or I guess not even conversations, just little snippets. And he's very good mannered, and he never is getting in people's way. It's not like the beginning of Elf, where he's like running through New York and yelling at people in the streets and stuff. Like it has so much restraint with a character like this, especially with someone like Peter Sellers, who is very comedically inclined. He plays this very dramatically.
Yeah.
I just love the combination of the satire of how everyone's handling him, the comedy based on the miscommunications, and the legitimate drama in being like an other, you know?
Yeah.
Like he is if you feel for him, because there's really no way he can reintegrate. He's like in his 50s, it looks like, and there's no way he can reintegrate back into society like a normal person. But he keeps failing upward. And so you keep rooting for him to just keep going.
Yeah, exactly. And there is this was one of Peter Sellers' last movies before his death. It might have been like the last one that was released, because I do think that there was a Pink Panther movie that came out after this, but it was like reused different scenes that were cut out of other Pink Panther movies.
I think you mentioned that in the party, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Apparently that's bad. I can't imagine. But this was definitely the last big hit that Peter Sellers had anyway, and I think he died in like early 80s. Yeah. And so there is this whole, like, you do feel for Chance in that way, that at the same time there is I do kind of disagree with the ridiculous aspect of it, where it does feel a little bit ridiculous, but not from the point of view of Chance.
Right.
It's the point of view of everybody else. It's like you kind of start to have a little bit of a, maybe, or at least this was my interpretation. I don't want to speak for you, but when I first watched this, I kind of felt like, wow, everybody's so foolish for just listening to Chance at face value.
Exactly.
And going along with what he said and believing that he's coming up with this profound statement. And obviously that plays into the ending, where you have that all, the rug pulled out from under you, and then you kind of realize that, oh, we were the ones being fooled, not them. And so,
exactly.
It was this thing where, there was a lot of scenes that, again, they were really funny. I do really like the interactions with, like, the black guy where he pulls the knife out on Chance, and then what was the thing that he pointed up at them?
It was the remote.
Yeah, the remote. Yeah, he was trying to
it's
like
all
change
he had.
Yeah. And like, and even like the beginning where like he's like, he walks into the old man's room, and then like he sees the old man, and then he just turns on the TV and starts watching TV next to the corpse. And
he doesn't know how to cope with any of that.
Yeah, exactly. And, it really actually did remind me of, the Quentin Tarantino meme where he's, in the house just looking at the different things. That's what the beginning of Being There reminded me of. But anyway, but yeah, it is this thing where, you don't feel anything malicious towards Chance. You don't really feel anything malicious towards the other characters either. Even though I was, when I first watched this, kind of okay, these people are kind of foolish for, interpreting the things that he's saying the way that he's saying them. I also there was no part of me that was oh wow, they're treating him badly, or I wish that they weren't doing this to him. I wish that this wasn't the case of I wish that they would realize that he was a dumb person, and then they would have yeah, exactly. It was very much a thing where they saw something in Chance, which was a very legitimate thing to see, and it was really kind of this perspective of, because he was so sheltered, and because he was not as, I guess, adept to the rest of the world as other people were, there was kind of a perspective that you see that's a little bit fresher with, it kind of makes me wonder, it's well, I don't know, what if we did equate everything that we do and that we know about to other problems in life? If it was gardening, like it is in this movie, and then it's okay, you equate that to politics, and it's is the more information that we know make us dumber? Is it It kind of makes me think, because it's kind of the same thing with cavemen. Now, people think cavemen are Neanderthals, but you put me in a forest, I'm not going to survive.
Exactly,
the cavemen, in a lot of ways, understand the world better than I do, because they have less knowledge of, modern technology and all these things. And that's kind of
movies. They don't know anything about that.
Yeah, exactly. My knowledge of house is not going to keep me alive against a bear. So, so it did kind of it does have that kind of aspect to it, and it is, I think, I would call this a feel-good movie for sure.
Oh, yeah,
this is a movie that really does seem to have a positive view of humanity overall, and it kind of makes you think when you get to the ending, it's oh, I was viewing a lot of this through my cynical lens of oh, these people are foolish, but maybe that was the point of hey, maybe I should have believed in Chance more,
Yeah, exactly.
And even the name Chance, even that is misleading, because that name is kind of suggesting that everything that's happening is just by chance. That it's not because of anything driving it. And the ending of the movie, which I don't know, I guess we could just reveal it now.
I guess,
because,
yeah.
I mean, we'll jump back and forth with the ending. So the ending of the movie, not the president, Ben, guy that he's staying with.
He's a financial advisor for the president.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone very close to the president.
Yeah, so Ben, he passes away, and they have the funeral, and Chance kind of walks away from the funeral with while they're bringing up his casket, and they're all kind of wondering who the next advisor to the president's going to be, and they kind of suggest that Chance will be the next advisor to the president.
Yeah,
and
or what I got is that he could even be the president himself.
Yeah,
which is and
which I believe that they would probably, that's a definite possibility.
Yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt, but I also. This scene where they're discussing this, these are all the pallbearers carrying Ben into his big pyramid tomb with the Eye of Horus on the top of it, like a normal person.
Yeah,
and it's sort of assumed that these people are the Illuminati, right?
Yeah.
Like the shadow government behind the scenes running the world politics.
Yeah,
and it's just so funny to see, we've watched this movie, these people in power keep assuming that Chance is this genius, to the point where the world shadow government is we need to get this Chauncey Gardner guy. He could be the next president of the United States.
Yeah. And so it ends with Chance, he walks away from the funeral, and he goes across to a lake, and he just walks across the lake he doesn't fall through or anything. It seems like he's just walking across water, Jesus Christ style.
Yeah.
And it kind of, there's a lot of different ways to interpret it, but it's basically, I think that we can all agree on, is that everything that, was happening was not just random happenstance to chance. Like, there was some sort of, like, mythical element to this movie, whether that's him or whether that's just the circumstances of the god above or whatever you want to interpret it. There's a lot of, I'll get into the interpretations, but yeah, it was kind of, that's what it feels like, a magic trick, because you spend this entire movie thinking that this is just, it's hilarious that, he's getting himself into these positions and he's going to a higher rank of power without, actually going through any of the traditional pathways. He's just kind of like a gardener that is getting lucky. And then you realize, okay, it's not all just luck. There is something more to this. Yeah. And it's, it was, when I saw that ending, I was floored. I don't know, it was, I guess, your reaction to the ending.
It was such a simple thing, too.
Yeah.
Like, I had the exact same reaction. I was like, I don't even know what to think anymore. I don't even know what to say. Yeah. Like, it changes the entire perspective of the movie. Mm-hmm. Now, the first thing I immediately go to is this just sort of a symbolic gesture of chance, sort of, is it meant to be taken literally? Are we supposed to assume that in the universe of the film, after that funeral, Chance walked across water Christ-like? Mm-hmm. Or is it more just trying to say that, there is a higher power that is guiding Chance, or at least guiding the world towards him?
Yeah.
Because I don't think his name is Chance, but I don't think it's definitely not all by chance that this happened. Firstly, just looking at Chance as a character, as I said, he's kind. He's always forgiving.
Even saying forgiving, I wouldn't even say he's forgiving. He just doesn't hold any sort of resentment in the first place.
No grudges. He can't. He doesn't know the concept of it. The car runs into him, and he doesn't say it's okay. He says, "My leg hurts."
Yeah.
And they say, "Can we take you home to treat it?" And he says, "Yes." Mm-hmm. Not yes, please. Yes. He is so incredibly, I don't know about if I would say self-centered, but, like, he has this own personal view of himself where he's dedicated to only giving himself the things that he wants, which is TV and gardening.
Yeah.
Which is one thing I found that was interesting, and I'm not really sure where else to put this in the discussion. Do we ever see the fruits of, like Chance's gardening? Like, in that opening sequence, when we see him gardening, we see him, like, planting things. But I don't think we ever see any, like...
No, because I think this movie takes place over the course of a few days, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, only a couple days.
Yeah, so no, it doesn't have time to really show what the gardening results in.
Yeah, there's a shot in the beginning with the when the insurance brokers come down to the mansion, and he walks past the garden. He goes, "Those are my roses," and he points at the roses, and they just sort of, like, look inquisitively at them, and then it moves on. The camera doesn't pan over, it doesn't show them. It's like, we don't even know if Chance is a good gardener at this point. Like, everything he touches could turn to death. It's really a matter of faith that you believe this guy and what he's saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think because of that, he sort of represents, like, a very simple ideology, a very simple worldview, that, the world is simple to him.
Yeah.
It's like a garden. There's bad times and good times, and after the good times come the bad, and the bad come the good.
Yeah.
That is his philosophy. This is parroted by Ben, who tells it to the president, and Chance also tells it to the president as well.
It's also parroted by the president, who tells it to the entire world.
Yeah, the whole world. He tells them this and quotes him.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going up. Like, it's this very simple idea, and it sort of really highlights this is something that people gravitate to.
Yeah.
An idea of, like, we live in a world now that is so incredibly complicated. Yeah. There's so many different systems competing for power, and there's so many different people competing for, like like fame and glory and money and love, and it is so refreshing to hear somebody say, this was bad, but it can be good sometimes.
Yeah.
And then it will be bad again. He's not really saying anything. What he's saying is he's affirming people's inner fears.
Right, yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, exactly. People are afraid of the complexity of the world. He comes out and he speaks simply, and the simple words comfort a dying man. Yeah. That's where it starts with Ben. And Ben is just overjoyed to have this guy in his house. And it's mostly because he doesn't bog things down with complications or anything like that. He says it straight. And I think Ben says it like that exactly. He mentions, like, Chauncey, you're very blunt. You never mix words. And he certainly doesn't, because he doesn't know how to lie. He doesn't know how to deceive. Yeah. It's so pure.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, you could make the argument that he was just playing a trick on the people at the end. I think that's a cynical way that you could interpret the ending, where like he was turning, which I don't think it's an illegitimate way to interpret the ending. I'm just saying that I think that the ending, what you get out of it, I think is going to depend on your worldview in general, and how you kind of, your own perception of how people are, and, whether you're the type of person who believes that, people are gullible and can be tricked, or if you're the type of person who has like a higher view of humanity. I think that this ending's going to just speak to you on a lot of different levels. And with a lot of what Chance, like, you're kind of right, like, he's not doing anything that spectacular in his actions.
Exactly.
He's just wanting to live his life and watch TV and garden and just do the things he wants to do. But a lot of people, like, especially, and this is especially true with like big corporations and stuff like that are, trying to have a positive, public view or anything. They want to do like these big elaborate, charity drives, or they want to do these big elaborate, social things to, show like, I'm a good person. And I'm not saying that none of them believe in what they're saying. I think there's a lot of them that don't. I think, but, there is this kind of thing. It's like, well, all you really need to do to make the world better is kind of just be nice, do what you want to do, and, don't hurt anybody. Don't, go out of your way to be malicious. Just be yourself, do what you want to do, and be nice to people. And I think that's kind of the fundamental thing that Chance is showing people, is that you don't need to have these big elaborate schemes or these big elaborate public shows of like, oh, this is how you do things. It's just like, no, people are going to remember if you're just being nice and you're just, there if you're being there for people. I think there's a lot of different ways you could interpret the title too.
Exactly. Yeah. Being there is like, but I love that you bring that up, because it's not something I've thought about before. So just off like the cuff, like, being there is such a simple title, but it means so much.
Yeah.
Like it could, like, starting off right at the beginning, it could mean just that Chance was being there.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the film, Chance doesn't really have a purpose. Mm-hmm. He doesn't have people who, like, love and care for him. He has nothing other than his being. He is being there. But then as he makes connections, he learns about being there for other people.
Yeah.
He is being there for Eve and Ben in the cases where, because I think he doesn't really care about anybody at this point. And I don't say that in he's selfish, he only cares about himself. No, he just doesn't know how to form connections like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I think he's interested, and I think that when he first arrives at their house, he's interested in their garden.
Yeah.
His main thing is he wants to be their gardener. And which is where, if they understood him, it would have stayed, probably. He probably would have become their gardener.
Yeah.
But instead they infer all of these additional meanings from his words, and he moves up and up and up just by acting out of the goodness of his own heart.
Yeah.
Again, this is... And even when it's a miscommunication, these people still appreciate the effort he's putting in to make them feel good.
Yeah.
The Russian diplomat. In the second half of the movie, he's speaking to a Russian diplomat who's speaking Russian and straight up just fluent Russian to him, and he nods and laughs, and immediately he guessed right. Yeah. It was again just chance. Yeah. and he guessed right, and the Russian's like, I like this guy, he's great. It doesn't matter what he does, as long as he's presenting himself as an uncomplicated, simple person. They love that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no room for him to, like, be, deceptive, because he doesn't want... And, the thing is, like, he probably... I don't even think, like, if there was people around, he probably still would have walked on the water at the end. He just... it doesn't think to him to, like, show that to other people. At least that's the impression I got. And so, like, there is so much of what he's doing, and in terms of the title being there, Chance isn't thinking about what happened an hour ago, and he's not thinking about what's going to happen to him an hour after the fact. He's just there in the moment. Oh. And I don't think I've ever... I don't know if I've ever had an experience like that where I'm just there in the moment, not thinking about the past or the future, just for like an entire being for, it's just a state of mind that he's in that's honestly very kind of, it's infectious. And, it's infectious for us as the audience. It's infectious for the characters in the movie. And, and there are characters in the movie that do kind of think like, that he's... an idiot, like Louise kind of like brings up that fact, and what was the name of the lawyer?
Oh, the lawyer, or the doctor.
Well, the doctor too, but also the lawyer, because the lawyer sees him on TV.
Right. And, yes. The realtor lawyer.
Yeah, the realtor. Thomas Franklin. That was his name. I remembered it was something specific like that. But anyway, so Dr. Allenby and Thomas Franklin and Louise, they do kind of see Chance as someone who's just, getting lucky. And, but, it doesn't really even matter to Chance. Well, not that he even knows that that's what they're thinking, but it doesn't... I think that even if he did, that wouldn't change his perception of how he would want to act or anything like that. He's just too in the moment. He's too just focused on whatever he likes, whatever is, the interactions with the people around him. And there's just so much that, it really just kind of goes to show, like, this is a character who truly, not in a cynical way, but he truly just doesn't care what other people think about him.
Exactly. And, like, you bring up that concept of, like, I don't care what anyone thinks of me. And it already has a negative connotation. Yeah. Because in today's climate, that means that you are without a filter.
Like, that sounds like abrasive, the way that you would say it.
Exactly, yeah. like it's like you don't care who you hurt by what you say. Yeah. Which is shitty. Like, you don't want to... I personally wouldn't want to hurt anyone with anything I say. I'm sure that there's people I would like to hurt, but, like, chances...
I have a provocative sense of humor, so, I mean, like, there's stuff like that. I mean...
Exactly. And I'm the same way, but Chance doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Chance wouldn't even get South Park.
He would watch it though. If
he
it was
would
on.
watch it and he would love it. And it's just so interesting because again, if we talk about his obsession with TV, because every scene this man's in, he's watching a TV, it's really interesting because even scenes where things happen to characters that he should at this point care about, he is unable to focus on that. Yeah. So, like, you've got that first scene you mentioned with the old man. He comes in, checks on the old man's dead. He sits down, starts watching his TV. Mm-hmm. Doesn't even think about it, doesn't do anything else. And I also think about when they were watching the presidential address, when he was quoting Chance. And Ben is, like, laughing about something, and then he takes for a coughing fit. And everyone's like, oh, we have to get the medicine. And Chance hasn't even looked around at him, at anyone yet. He is just fixated on these things. He is obsessed with television, yet there's a lot of things that you'd think he would pull from television that he hasn't. Like,
he's not Beavis and Butthead.
Exactly, yeah. He's still polite. And one thing is sexual feeling is non-existent, but despite the fact that I think if you were raised by television, you would know how sex works.
And there is like a scene where he sees like a kissing scene on television, and he starts to emulate that.
And he emulates it. Yeah, exactly.
But I don't think that that's for any sort of like sexual gratification or anything like that.
He's just sees it's like that's a similar situation that I would be in with Eve.
Yeah.
So he just kisses her, and then I want to say the funniest.
And I think I know what you're going to say, but keep going.
The funniest, I would say, firstly, the funniest plot point is the romance with Eve.
Yeah.
Going through this and watching this woman fall in love with this man is so funny because, again, he has nothing going on. It's debatable whether you think he really cares for her. And I think we can debate that. Like,
I think that he cares about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he has a romantic interest in
exactly, her. He cares about her. Yeah. By the end of the movie, I think one of the biggest change in Chance's character is when Ben dies in front of them, and he cries for exactly the first time in the whole movie.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot, but he still acts the same, but he's displaying a grief for the first time ever, which he never did with the old man.
Yeah.
Which can only, he's only known Ben for 3 days. How good could this old man have been if he doesn't even say his name?
Yeah.
And it's just so interesting to think about a character like this, and it puts into new perspective that ending scene. It's like he can do anything with this mindset in this world, I guess. Not grounded in reality.
Well, I mean, you could argue grounded in reality if he did actually walk across the water. But again, that could be interpreted as literal or non-literal. Or you could explain it away saying, like, oh, there was a pathway there that we just didn't see. There's a practical explanation of it, too. And so there's, again, very, very deep layered ending. And yeah.
So for this mindset he has, this simple ideology, it can be taken two ways. We can look at that last scene. And firstly, we can look at the Illuminati type characters who are carrying Ben's casket. These people are saying that people listen to Chauncey Gardner. People respect him. People think he's a genius.
Yeah.
But it's a question of his mindset is what is convincing people. It's a simple idea, and people trust it. What we have here is malicious people that will inevitably in the future try to take advantage of that. If they put Chauncey Gardner in the White House, in the Oval Office, then he is the most easily manipulated person in the whole world. They don't know that, but once they realize that, they can use him and his simple viewpoint and his trust of people that he's gained to manipulate the world however they want. It's all about control for them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you look at Chance walking away from the entire situation. He leaves. And by the way, very, very telling is the fact that everyone's here and the President of the United States is eulogizing Ben. And they are carrying his big, expensive mahogany casket with gold trim up a staircase to his monolithic pyramid with an Eye of Horus on it. And it's like, what are we doing here? Even the president says, like...
Also, I want to say the sets in this movie are, like, amazing. Like, you get so much out of, like, the scenes. And that's true of the streets, like, the outside shots, too. But, like, you get so much out of, like, the set of, like, the original house and, like, the house that Ben lives in. And then, like, the library. Like, it tells a whole story in and of itself. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
And, he looks at this, and even the president is like... I know Ben asked for a simple service, but I'm going to read a bunch of insane quotes from Ben. And it's just the most asinine bullshit you've ever heard in your life. And then you begin to realize why people revered Chance so much. It's because these people are crazy. Yeah. These, like, insanely rich people are in their own little world. And Chance knows that. he leaves that scene.
Yeah.
He walks. He's the main character, and he walks out of the movie. Like, I found myself checking the time. I was like, is it almost over? I feel like it's ending right now. Because, like, I expected more with everything that they were building up and stuff. And then it just sort of falls off. Not in, like, a quality way, just in, like, the movie ended. It just stopped.
Yeah.
That's where it stops. And Chance did that. He like, to me, he walked out of his own movie before his own ideology could be corrupted.
Yeah, exactly.
He walks out and he looks on the mansion on Ben's mansion. This is his home now.
Yeah.
He has inherited this guy's life. In 3 days, he has convinced this guy to, I just have to say, inherit his fortune, sleep with his wife. And
that's the thing too. Ben is very aware that Eve wants to fuck Chance, and he encourages it.
It's crazy, even with his small dick. Because at the very beginning, we hear that he's got a very small dick.
Was that him? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was the president, but the president had the intimacy issues. But
yeah, anyway. The president had that's another
That's a running joke throughout the movies.
The president can't get it up.
Yeah.
That's, honestly, I love a good impotence joke. So whatever. But yeah, he walks out of the movie, he looks at the mansion, he sees everything that he's gained, and it's like, what else is there to gain? And it's like, through this mentality, through this purity, he could do anything. He could even walk on water.
Yeah.
And it's this last moment of he steps out and there's doubt at first, because you're like, okay, so it looks like it could be flooded. Is there a dock there? Is there a submerged dock? That's the big thing.
And you can argue that there is.
Yeah, absolutely. if you're not a believer, I guess.
Yeah,
if you don't have faith, you can just say that there was a dock there that went across and it's flooded.
Yeah, and he does stick his umbrella down into the water, which kind of, again, it doesn't fully say that there's not a dock there, but I mean, it kind of implies that there maybe not be, because that was a very good, subtle kind of moment that they did that added to that scene a lot.
Exactly, and that umbrella dip is such a great moment. It's like he walks out on the lake, and it's like you have that last doubt, like, what is he doing? How is he walking on water? There's got to be something there.
Yeah. And
then he dips his umbrella, and of course it's not completely vindicating. It's like, well, it could still be a dock. You could have dipped it off the edge, but that's not really the point. It's him saying that, like, have faith in kindness, have faith in a simple mindset, and don't get hung up on things, and like the fall and the winter, the spring and the summer will come.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That is absolutely my takeaway from this movie. Yeah. And it is, I'm a huge optimist to the point where I find that people think it's annoying that whenever I'm like, oh, it'll all work out. Sometimes it won't work out, and I get that. I want people to be happy, and I want to spread happiness, right? Yeah. So I relate to it so much. It's honestly, like, again, I said at the beginning of the episode, this is legit one of my favorite movies we watched on this show. Yeah. Because, and that's just the layers I've unpacked here. There's still so much to talk about. Like, it's just incredible.
Well, I'll definitely recommend Harold and Maude at some point, because that movie's very much about the opposing different life views, about being obsessed with life and being obsessed with death, and, you know, the optimism versus the pessimism. But anyway, staying on being there, though, like, this was very much, you're right, and I kind of feel like I'm the same way, and, you know, especially, this has been a tough year for me, and, I mean, it's getting better, but there was but at the end of the day, that, like, I do kind of think the same way that you do, is that I just want the best for humanity and the world, and you know, I'm not a religious person in any stretch, but, you know, I do have sort of a spiritual kind of I'd say connection with, you know, I would say art and nature and animals and a bunch of different things in my life that are important to me, and I think that this movie, it's a great movie because I think, you know, with the ending, you could explain it away. If you are religious, you could say that Chance is like the second coming of Christ, or like,
that would be the first thing you think of.
Exactly.
Just because of the imagery.
Yeah, exactly. And then you say, like, okay, he's like Christ. I was thinking of a Ricky Gervais lyric, but said Spaceman came down and asked, "Are you Christ in a mask?" He said, "No, I'm just magic, but I can see why you asked." I love The Office. But God. Again, The Office is a very, I'd say, dark and cynical show, but I mean, like, I like that too. So, I mean, I like these different, like, point of views that you can see with different world views. And there is a great video on YouTube. I don't know if you watched this or if you watched any interpretations of the ending after the fact, but there's a great video on YouTube called Being There in 1979, The Meaning of the Final Scene, by a channel called Obsessed with Cinema.
No, actually, I wanted to go and clean with you.
Yeah, no, that's a I didn't rewatch that video. I watched that video a long time ago when I was first seeing this movie, but I don't have the exact arguments that he was making fresh off the top of my head. But he did a very good job with that video, and I would recommend that anybody go check that out. But there is no like one answer that you can get from anything, because I don't think that it's designed to be that way. And I think because apparently the ending of the novel does not have that twist, which is interesting because, like I said, the screenplay is written by the same guy who wrote the novel. So, yeah he did. So I don't know if that was Hal Ashby that made that decision or if that was him. It could be either one, I'm not sure. But I think that it adds a lot to the story. How do you think this would play if the ending wasn't there? What would you think?
I still think it was a solid 8 out of 10. Honestly, like just based on the comedy and the satire, the writing is incredible. Yeah,
the performances are amazing with Peter Sellers, especially.
Like Peter Sellers has this incredible dramatic to comedic range. Yeah. He's never playing something to be funny, but he knows that what he's saying is funny. Like, he is always speaking in a very pure voice, but he knows what he means whenever he's speaking.
That's especially true if you watch Doctor Strangelove, because where he's, like, playing 3 different roles in that movie, and, like, they're all distinct from each other, and they feel like different characters. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But it's also very true here, and in pretty much everything that he does, whether he's playing an Indian or he's playing Chauncey Gardiner.
It's a bit harder when he's playing an Indian.
But he still nailed that role, I'm going to say.
I know! It's even if it's racist, he's good at it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, that's going to be taken out of context, I bet. Oh, no! Even if it's racist, he's so good.
He's dead. He's already dead. You can't say anything about it.
Yeah. But I still haven't seen. Apparently, the Casino Royale. He did a Casino Royale parody. Apparently, it was really bad because there was like a bunch of different. It went through a bunch of different directors and writers. But I'd be interested to see everything I've seen Peter Sellers in so far. He's absolutely nailed his performance, and that continues with Being There.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know who won the Oscar, and I don't really care, but this is a noteworthy performance of one of the best performances of the 70s I've seen. And okay, I guess you can look up who won the Oscar.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's absolutely like one of the best performances in a movie from this era I've ever seen. Like, it's so much to it. I'd be interested in reading the novel. I kind of assume that I would like the movie more, but you never know. And my dad's a big fan of the author too, so one day I'll probably get around to the Being There novel. Yeah. But just in terms of the movie, there's so much more that I can say about the ending. Like, I could talk about this movie for a long, long time. This is a movie that sparks a very deep philosophical discussion. Absolutely.
As well as just being like, you can point out anything, though. It's like, just in the base elements of the humor and all that stuff, like that, you could point out how great that is. You could point out how the points that it's making about the philosophical implications of the ending. You could point into all the different interpretations. You could point into your view of humanity, my view of humanity, everybody else's view of humanity, and how it relates to this movie. And it's just a very, very layered movie. And this is, the ending is absolutely like I don't have a short list or anything of my favorite movie endings, but if I did, this would be on there. And Being There in general would probably be in my top 200 favorite movies of all time. Like, this is up there for me. Like, this is a fantastic watch, and I recommend. I mean, even if we spoiled it though, I'd still recommend. And you haven't seen this, and you're listening to the podcast, still go out and watch Being There. Like, it is that good. Like,
yeah, honestly, like this is definitely going on my list of top like 50 favorite movies I've seen in forever. Yeah. Like, it is so incredibly poignant, and you don't really see that like.
I mean, you can definitely check it out in retrospect, but it is kind of like this yarn that's being pulled. Exactly. And you don't really see the full scope of it until the end. But yeah, there is, it's not just like the movie's ending is like, oh, that in isolation is the whole thing. It's very much effective of the way that the movie was working before that, and it complements that very much. And so watching it for the second time for this podcast, I mean, I had a totally different perception of what it was saying the first time, and I think if I watched it again, I'd have another different perception.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
It's a lot like chance. Yeah. Like, whatever you give to it, it sort of mirrors back to you.
Yeah, it's like a Rorschach painting.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's whatever you see is what is reflected back into yourself. It is a mirror. And I love movies that sort of do that. It sort of holds a mirror up to you and says, what do you think about this? It doesn't spell it out. It doesn't have a character come out and say, Chance is an alien the whole time.
Or Chance was Jesus.
Or Chance was the devil.
Yeah.
Like...
Because you interpret this as like, oh, Chance was actually pulling the wool over everybody. Yeah. And like he was, fucking with people and getting into a big high position of power and money and...
Absolutely.
All that stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, and people can do like...
And it wouldn't even be an illegitimate... I wouldn't even say, like, you're wrong if you think that. I just think that, like, it would depend on, like, your view of, like, how you would perceive a character like this. And say, like, oh, is it malicious what he's doing? Is it in good heart? Is it... does he even know that he's doing it at all? Like, again, it's just...
Yeah, like, it's such a great thing to analyze and talk about. Fucking good movie, dude.
I'm glad you like it.
Like, holy shit. Like, instant fave. Holy fuck. Like, I can't, I like, just to be blunt.
Yeah.
It's a fucking good movie.
Yeah. You speak bluntly. I like that.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
And then again, this was a movie that you didn't have any expectations of it one way or the other, I don't think.
Yeah.
Going into it. You just thought, oh, it'll probably be pretty good.
Yeah, I figured my buds recommending it to me should be good. Pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I only recommend good movies like Dancing It's On. And
exactly. You're not even wrong. That movie rules. Listen, a 5-star movie can be just as good as a half-star movie.
It's true.
I will say that right now.
It's true.
Oh, I should also mention, it was Dustin Hoffman who beat him for Kramer versus Kramer for best.
Dustin Hoffman was good in Kramer versus Kramer. I definitely think this is a better performance.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that blooper ruined it. Yeah. People were the Academy was watching it. It was like, oh my god, Peter Sellers, he's a serious actor now. And then
Dustin Hoffman, you could say, just did this performance in Rain Man. He just copied it. Like, no, obviously Rain Man's not the same movie as Being There, but I mean, like, you can definitely see elements.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He copped his shit.
And again, you could say Forrest Gump too. With
like,
Tom Hanks and his performance there.
And I'm sure that there's been movies before Being There about the simple type character, but I don't think I've seen one that's done this well.
Yeah, I like this way more than Rain Man. I like it way more than Forrest Gump. Again, those are very solid movies, and that's nothing to do with the quality of them. It's just how good Being There is, and it's
absolutely
it's it's a fucking phenomenal. I would say masterpiece. I'm going to use the word.
Honestly, I didn't want to be hyperbolic, but if you're going to open up that genie bottle, then it's a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
I'd say, and again, if you made it this far and you still haven't watched it, you ruined it. You blew it. But you still have to watch it, because it's, honestly, it will make you think. If you are going through something in your life, watch it.
Yeah.
See what happens. See what you take away from it. Because it's interesting. It's interesting to see what people take from it.
Yeah, this is definitely... It's right up there with Ikaru is one of my favorite, just like, wow, this makes me feel good about humanity. And I'll have to recommend Ikaru. And again, I've been mentioning that movie so many times on this podcast.
One of these times you're going to drop Ikaru and it's going to be...
I feel like you're going to recommend it before I do, just to get like the fucking jump on me. Yeah. But anyway, I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, but, I'm sure you would be fine watching that movie again.
Yeah, but again, we could talk about this for hours, but do you have any like thoughts about being there that you want to get out just for the podcast that we haven't done yet?
No, not really. I think I've laid it all out there. I'm sure there's more I could talk about, but as you said, I think that's the biggest point of this movie is everything I've said so far. It's just a movie about how the simple things are usually the easiest things. And sometimes you just need a simple person to point the world in the right direction. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I've never seen someone so horny while watching Mr. Rogers. That's the final note I'll end on.
I forgot he was watching Mr. Rogers. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, this is a good time capsule too with like the 70s television stuff. I mean, you see Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers and a bunch of the talk shows and stuff like that. And it's a fun little time capsule that way too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that was again, we are just hitting it out of the park with awesome movies. Well, I guess Baxter wasn't great.
Baxter, yeah, but it wasn't terrible either.
Yeah.
But I really like this discussion. I mean, we were both really passionate about it, which is nice to see. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be that way about the next recommendation, which I have not watched yet. So.
Ooh, good. Yeah, let's get into that. What are we doing?
Well, this time we're also going to plan for a guest appearance.
Hopefully they actually show up this time.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah, we're gonna get our friends Danny and Quinn Leckie. Danny being the tattoo artist. If you've seen my Coach McGurk tattoo, which I posted in my Discord, that was her wonderful masterpiece.
If you haven't seen it, here it is right here.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it right there.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Look at it. Say it. It's a cheese cow, Mom.
Go get a tattoo. That's what I'm telling you. Play soccer.
But, yeah. So go ahead.
Okay, so the recommendation for next time, which I guess was a joint effort of them recommending it, is Promising Young Woman from 2020. Have you seen that?
I have heard of this movie, but I have not seen it.
Yeah.
I think, okay. Promising Young Woman. I love it.
Yeah. We'll talk about John Waters probably too, because we've been thanks to them we've been on a big John Waters binge, or at least I have. You two probably a little bit of a less of it.
A little bit less because God, it's so hard to watch movies these days. You have to start a whole fucking podcast to make yourself watch some movies. God damn.
It's true.
But tune in next month. We're going to be talking John Waters
and Promising Young Women
and young promising up and coming woman in her 20s.
Is that what it's about?
I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Okay.
Anyway, whatever, man. Life is like a garden.
Yeah.
Oh.
Don't live like me, all right? Now you go out there and you play great. The words of Coach McGurk.
Go play soccer.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, thanks so much for listening again, guys. This has been the Unrealistic Elephant Podcast, and be sure to watch Promising Young Woman. Promising Young Woman.
Which is being recommended by a promising young woman.
Exactly. So, there we go.
It'll be the first female that we've had on the podcast.
Yes, exactly. I have met females before.
Yeah.
For everyone who's been sending me emails.
Anyway. When you say sending you emails, are you talking like sex sites or like?
No, shut up. Anyway, sorry. Goodbye. It's time to go. Goodbye. This is Nathan. Thanks so much. Goodbye.
I am a promising young man. Goodbye.
Adios.